I'm E.
I'm Rob.
I'm Dylan.
Welcome to the next movement, folks.
Now we can talk some shit. 216 CP, dig in the scene where the gays will be. Face a king, he may think it's Maybelline. When I bat my almond eyes, if I say great to me, that we take all the time. And sweet thing takes the heat, that we gon' caramelize. And that sweet all will rise. I don't mean law abide, I ain't gon' fall in line till I take my coffin ride. I know the strong don't survive, cause when I play back their words, it's something like poltergeist. And ain't no cash I earn can buy my bonus life, so that's adjourned. Fuck the frail shit, young nigga feel like Kiss. Why is president as hard as it gets? Cause I'm softer than y'all in a hit. I'm like ballin' with all of the fists. Young Cornell when I lack a line and giving them hell, we ain't pacifying. Wishing y'all well, y'all lack alignment. Nigga, we tried it. Get up off them goddamn diamonds. This ain't a robbery. I'm saying you ain't saying not a thing. This black you power. With these gems for the gang, no. We keep friends on a payroll. You depend on a fake store. Whoa.
Our year-end episode is here. Hard to believe. So if you know the podcast, you know every year we select a few of our favorites from the given year, and we are joined typically by a guest or guests, and they also talk about their favorite projects from the given year. So tonight we are joined by Dylan, aka CineMasai from Real Notes. So nice to have you on here with us. We really appreciate your time. Looking forward to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank y'all for having me, man. Like you know, like I was saying before, I love the format. Big fan of the way y'all talk to people. The passion's really there, and just like getting to see people, you know, just like y'all, y'all are so excited about this. They're so excited about it, and I'm excited to be a part of that in some small way. And there was a lot of ground to cover this year, and I personally wanted to make sure that I got to talk about stuff that I haven't talked about elsewhere. So I kind of just chose 3 things that I love that I didn't get to like write about or talk about on my own. So I'm happy to do that with y'all. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
I think most folks who listen to us regularly probably know who you are and are familiar with Real Notes, but do you want to just give folks who don't know just a brief spiel about the podcast and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Real Notes is all about me talking to rappers, producers, journalists, rap adjacent folks, just about their relationship to movies, their favorite movies, their first experiences, their perspective on whatever, you know. We just kind of come on and just chop it up about movies and music and whether or not movies inspire their craft. I've been running it for about, I want to say close to 3 years at this point. Just came up on, I think, like 120 some odd episodes. I'm keeping up with y'all because I know y'all have been y'all have been going for a little minute. And then on top of that, I'm also a contributing writer over at Pitchfork. I get yelled at for reviews pretty often, and
That's,
I bet you do.
you know,
that's no lie. Some of it very public.
yeah,
Oh,
you know,
shit.
it is what it is. You know, like we all have opinions. I love a good discourse, and the mute button's right there, so I'm not tripping. But yeah, you know, Real Notes has been something that's been really important to me these last couple of years. Just been nice to kind of have like I'm sure y'all understand, just like having a nice little block of the internet that's yours is or just anything really. It's just nice to have a place where the only person you're answering to is yourself. And yeah, I'm just geeked about it all. So thank you. And thanks for anybody listening who come fuck with your boy. We have fun. And yeah, we do live events now, and that's fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say you leveled up this year. You've done a couple live events, right?
Yeah, we just we just did our last or I did my first movie night with Niante out of Florida, who runs with Mike and them. We watched Coonskin at a spot called Loudmouth in Brooklyn. Really great streetwear and record shop. Shout out to Loudmouth. We did 2 live episodes with Fatboy Sharif and Steel Tip Dove and Maxo. Shout out to the 3 of them for giving me their time. And yeah, you know, it's new ground. It's been scary, but you know, we learn, we move. Bigger things coming in 2024.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm feeling tight.
Nice.
So.
Love to hear it. Check out Real Notes if you haven't already.
Folks out there, our Logie episode just dropped today. Unprovoked, Logie brought up Real Notes in our interview with him.
Oh, wow.
He had seen the episode with Maxo and brought that up in our conversation. So it's like you were meant to be here.
Shout out to brother Logi too, because I met him for the first time at Anakin and Morpheus played a show in Brooklyn in June, and we've been in contact for a while. But yeah, shout out to Logi. He's super dope. I saw y'all put that episode out. I'm definitely gonna go run it probably tomorrow when I'm on the train. Yeah, nah, Logi's super fire. Shout out to him.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, should we get into it?
Let's do it.
Okay, so as our guest, Dylan, you get to go first. So in no particular order, what project was one of your favorites this year?
Cool. All right. So the first one that comes to mind for me is Deaf Presidents Is Always a Time Like This, which I'm like really surprised that like more of like people like in our corners weren't like chatting up a storm about all year. Cause I mean like I know y'all had Def C on, and like the Golem of Brooklyn's amazing. You know, like shout out to him and Messiah Music. That project's crazy. But yeah, it's for anybody who doesn't know, Def Prez is Def C, Crash Prez, and Knows the Time, the producer. This is like they've been making music for a while, but this is their like first big official debut album out on Closed Sessions. And just like, I mean, like rap duos aren't really a thing anymore. Trios I feel like are even rarer. And to see two rappers and a producer come together like this and just sound like, I don't want to say it sound, it's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins, but everything just cradles, man. Like the beats cradle the rhymes cradle the beats. Like Crash and Def C are just always like opposite sides of the coin, just like their styles are so different, and like the beats are so expansive and just like so many different kinds. It's such a varied album, and it's just like it's so quick, and it's just like gets in, does what it needs to do, and just goes. Like some of like the best pure rapping performances of the entire year are on this project, man. I'm just and you know, like full disclosure, all three of them are homies of mine. They're all just like super duper talented, and it was incredible to see them kind of, you know, like especially Crash and Knows the Time, especially Ian, like the two of them really got some like big looks this year. Cause I mean, like Def C's been going for the last couple years, like he's been getting some big looks there, but like the two of them, like all three of them just deserve everything that's coming their way. And that's a project I went back to a ton. You know, that's all I got. I'm just proud of my boys.
Yeah. I am one of the people that slept on this album, and I'm sorry that I did, because it is really good. It's really good. It's hard to believe. I think it's only 23 minutes long.
Yeah.
But I was tapping in this week, and I was just like, damn, why didn't I listen to this before? I don't know. There were so many different projects that came out this year, so many good projects, and I think it just fell underneath my radar, but it is fucking incredible. The rapping on here is incredible.
Yeah. Like Wake is ridiculous. Always is ridiculous. Cold Wax, like I heard them do it live in Brooklyn this year. It's been a while since I've like cried at a show, but I came very close. Like they just put it all on the stage, and then immediately after they did a medley of Charles Hamilton songs. Ooh. So like the vibes were all over the place. But yeah, like I couldn't agree more. Like what just like such a well-rounded project, you know, like it just covers all the bases.
Yeah. Obviously, I think Def C is a great MC. This was actually the first time I'd ever listened to Crash. And what you started with also stood out to me. Like, they just have such a great chemistry. I read a review of the album that sort of referred to their verses as like not competing with each other. And I think that's true of like their styles too, like the way they flow. And just like you said, bars, just solid rapping throughout. The track Keep That stood out to me just because I think it's different than anything else on the project. The beat and the way that both Def and Crash are rhyming, like that track in particular felt like a clinic, like a rap clinic. Like, let me show you all the different flows and styles you can bring. And just like was incredible to me.
Yeah, Def C ate on that. He fucking killed that. When he starts rapping in that really fast pattern, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, that shit was crazy. And then like at the beginning in Crash's verse, when he's talking like fuck the frail shit, young nigga feel like Kiss. Why is Crash why is Crash Prez as hard as it gets? For some reason, I heard him say frail shit, and I thought about the JPEG Mafia song, and I told him like, oh, here's a JPEG Mafia reference, and he's like, nigga, that's Kiss. And I was like, oh, you're right. Like I was just mad at myself, but just like, yeah, it's just such a zippy and like I don't know if fun's the right word, but like I have fun listening to it. You know, like it's just I don't know, man. Like you know, I mean, like to your point, Rob, like they like their styles are complementary, but they're not in competition with each other. Like I don't want to overblow it, but it does remind me a little bit of like Woods and Elucid and just like the way they do their thing, and just like how their styles are also like super duper distinct, but they flow together instead of like they don't clash.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's not like they're polar opposites. Like, you know, like Def C and Crash Prez are not polar opposites, but they're different enough that it's just like waves. I don't know if y'all can see my hands, but it's just like waves.
Yeah.
Waves flowing together, dueling dragons type shit. Like I'm a big like dueling dragons person, and I think they kind of get that, except I guess minus the dueling because they're not fighting each other. But
Right.
yeah,
They seem to be fighting someone else, some unknown foe.
The world,
whack MCs. It's like nah. Type shit. And yeah, no, before I forget, obviously, like shout out to Ian, shout out to Knows the Time on the beats, because once again, just a lot of a lot of variety. Like Son's a scientist, like literally and figuratively. He's like in school for science right now. He's he's like they're ones to watch out for, all three of them. I think that project really put them in front of some eyes who might have been looking for that sort of thing, and I really hope that all three of them just can take that to the moon at some point, you know, because all three of them deserve it. That's for sure. I'm just very proud, bro. Like,
I love it. You can hear it in your voice. Yeah, I mean, the production for me is one of the things that I loved about this project. I really appreciated the instrumentation too. So I wrote this person's name down. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Jamie Brewick. It's the person responsible for playing the horns on Paper and Deserve. That's what really made those tracks for me. Like just hearing that horn come in, it was beautiful. I mean, there's more instrumentation on here, and I apologize for not having the other musicians listed, but the horn is what really stood out for me. So I appreciated that being part of the production.
I agree. Yeah, 100%.
I just got to say, one of my favorite verses, maybe my favorite Crash verse on this project, is on Endless, where he like slips into this like playful voice and flow. I'm a different face. You know, I'm a buzzword. Oh my God, man. I love that verse so much. It's great.
Yeah, I like that one. And I love Crash's verse on Always. Just like the perfect origin story description verse. And just like it's like he's so like, you know, like Crash is like someone who's like really descriptive, but also like really direct in the way he's descriptive. And just like I feel like I'm walking through everything he says. It's like I feel like, I guess that's a weird way to put it, but it just feels so like he puts worlds in his verses and just like delivers them in like the most regular ways imaginable. Yeah. But like I don't know. It's just so free. I think his writing style is so free and really like it's easy to get caught up in, because like even when he's using a word that might seem like very big, it just feels like he's really good at saying words and making sure their context lands, even if you don't know what the word means, which I think is a really important thing, like a really important skill to have as a rapper, you know, because like people can throw $3 words at you all day and like just try to show you how great they are, but like if it's not something that's gonna help you like elevate or appreciate the understanding of the song or your life, like why bother? So, you know, I think he's really great at that.
I like that you use the word free, because I think that's probably more appropriate than like fun or like light, the word that I used. Free is a great word to describe, I think, Crash's writing and style.
So is fun and light. I appreciate fun and light.
Yeah, but you know, like the end of that verse on Endless, like he gets kind of serious, you know. I'm a line item. I'm the first one to die by design, you know. That's pretty serious.
Yeah, totally.
So, you know, it's not all fun and games, of course.
Right. Definitely.
I'm really glad you picked this album, because I don't know that I would listen to it otherwise. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
That's all of them, man. Like they just killed it, and I'm happy that we had this opportunity to commiserate over it for sure.
Yeah, same.
How they giving out flowers while salt in the earth, drifting off in these verses for weeks at a time. Throw a beat on and rhyme till I'm caught in the surf. Coughing up dirt, lower fees with the top, but they calling it worth. Like gossip in church, they fiending for drama and causing it first. I'm locked into work. Why they got 2 feet on the line just to launch in the worst? Why they in it for the distance? If I wanted to be famous, I could get it by dismissing anyone that did me favors or commission me for business. But that isn't what I'm aiming for. My name is more than Twitter mentions. Dig it, it's the imprint in the city that I visit. Cause I couldn't build where I'm from. Therapy was stealing the drum before I started wielding the rum. Like a drill in the field or a meal in the club. I get a storm, wind short sprints, ripping through the losses. Lit into the bosses. Haters bite till they jaws chip, long stints, listening to talking, fitting it for coffins. Cause it might not be a next year, I don't bet scared. I can hear the deck clear in your dead air. Show me my respect here, no pretend glare. If you feel the ends near, keep it 10 square. That chip on my shoulder, what they trying to tip on.
Well, you mentioned Woods earlier in that conversation, and so this is probably the perfect time for me to talk about Maps, which is amongst my 3 favorite from this year. And I'm actually surprised that it is, because I didn't know that I would connect with this album as much as I did when it came out. And when it came out, it was released literally the day before my 40th birthday, so I wasn't really checking for it. I was going to South Africa to celebrate my birthday. I remember downloading the album so I could listen to it on the plane, but I never really did, and, of course I saw all the hype surrounding it before it came out, the moment it came out, people quoting the lyrics literally the day it came out, because it's Billy Woods. So that's not surprising, but I really didn't listen to it until months later. And I'm glad that I waited, because I found it at a time when I really needed it. And I think that music just has a way of doing that, right? It's magic in that way. You find projects when you're supposed to find them, and that's not necessarily on the day that they come out. So, not to get into heavy shit, but like the summer was fucking rough for me. I don't know how it was for anybody else, but like I went through a lot of personal shit. And so I just remember going back to this album, pressing play, and I just immediately felt something. Like as soon as I heard Kenwood speakers, like I just was tapped in, and it became the only album that I cared about for a while. On Houdini, Wood says, "I was high all day, I escaped." And that's how I feel when I listen to this album. I think that Woods has always said relatable things in his work, but I really connected with what he's saying on this project and his experiences that he's describing. This is the best analogy that I could come up with when I was thinking about this, but it feels like I went from being in a crowd of people watching him perform his previous albums on stage to sitting next to him on a couch in a green room talking about the highs and lows of life. And I don't know if that's because I found this album and when I was going through a lot of shit, because I think when you find a particular piece of music during a difficult or even happy time, it becomes even more significant to you outside of its own excellence. But even so, Woods just feels so reachable on Maps. And let's talk about the production, because I feel like that really helped him feel reachable. Kenny Seagull's production on this album is phenomenal, and it's not just because it's good quality production. It's because of how he uses it to elevate Woods' lyricism, particularly when he's trying to set the stage for a specific emotion, right? Like everything Seagull does on this project complements Woods, and it makes Woods' words that much more impactful. At least it did for me. So when you're able to do that as a producer, I think that's what makes you better than good at your craft. And there's so many little moments in the production that make an entire track outstanding for me. And then I'll be quiet because I'm saying a lot about this.
It's your pick.
Yeah, keep going.
I don't want to hog the mic, but I just want to mention these little moments, while talking about the production, like the way Kenwood speakers opens, the horns on Blue Smoke, the piano melody on The Layover, the sax on Bad Dreams Are Only Dreams, when that cinematic orchestra sample comes in on the later half of Babylon by Bus, that trombone sound in Hangman, I think that's what it is, and the Paul Mooney clip that plays at the end of that track. And then the way that Houdini sounds like it could have been a smooth R&B track if given to an R&B singer. Like I love it all, and it all fits perfectly like a glove.
Yeah, I'll just add to that on Rapper Weed. To me, at least, the first time I listened to it, I was like just hearing like analog hiss in the background throughout the whole thing, and at the end, like just like somehow magically transforms into the crackle of this fire that Woods has been talking about the whole time. And it's so subtle, but it's so perfect. It's those little touches that you're talking about, E, that I just think are great.
Yeah, amazing,
man. Like it's just like between Kenny Siegel and like of course like Willie Green does incredible work over at Backwoods. Like these like his mixing and mastering is just always a sight to behold from or like a sight or like a sensation to behold. Because real quick side note, I was re-listening to Up to Speed from Sketch 185's album, and there's a bit on the second verse where like the beat gets like pixelated and sounds like it's being like ripped apart by wind, and like that's all Willie, like just I don't know, like stuff like that is it really just makes every Backwoods related album just such a treasure to move through. And like Maps is no exception, man. I don't even know, I feel like I've talked, I almost put this on my list, but like for anybody listening, I wrote a whole piece about Backwoods for Pitchfork this year. I kind of tailed Woods and the rest of the crew for like 3 months and just like got to chop it up with them about like the history and the process of the whole label. And like this was on repeat for like at least a month and a half while I was putting this piece together. It's just I don't even know, like just the whole, to your point, E, about just like travel and just like obviously the whole theme of the album being about travel. I have an interesting relationship with music where it's like I associate certain locations I go to with certain music and songs and like even like activities. Like there's like a specific song I listen to every time I'm on a plane and it's about to take off. It's the first song from Childish Gambino's Because the Internet. That's just like my plane takeoff song. Don't know why, I couldn't tell you, but like Maps is Maps is one of those that like I'm excited to travel with this album and like really like get to like like I want to hear New York City tap water somewhere else.
Soft landing. Yeah.
Or
I picture myself on the plane every time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, nah. Or like even like and like it's one of those albums where like every time I listen I have a new favorite song. Like it's never the same. Well, I mean like recently it was Blue Smoke's my favorite.
Oof.
Like right, it's just like like you were talking about before with just like the way the beat can complement the writing. It's just like that song is so nervy and just like that song sounds like pins and needles to me.
Yeah.
So and like Woods's delivery is very pins and needles. Like everything he's talking about is like super interior, and I wouldn't exactly call it paranoid, but it's like like focused and careful and like very like you could call all his work contemplative, but like it's just so like insular in a way that like the rest of the stuff isn't. And like I don't know, it's just like that beat sounds like the beginnings of an anxiety attack in like a really in like the kind of way that you could catch before it becomes a full-on anxiety attack.
Yeah.
So like something that's like manageable. I don't know, like just like the free jazz shit and just like and just like I love hearing Woods talk about cooking, and he does it so much on this album. Going back to the Backwoods catalog, that's one thing I noticed is like he talks a lot about cooking. He always has. Like it's always been on the it's like weed and cooking are his two favorite things to talk about.
Yeah.
And like the cooking came out really, just like the whole bit about him having sex with a lady at the end of Blue Smoke and then being like non-committal when she said she cooked next time. Like just some real slick shit. I don't know. Like it's there's like 18,000 moments I could talk about on this album. But it's
me too.
It's really incredible. And like once again, just seeing the way Woods, like I can't think of a bad album. There's no bad albums. There's no bad verses. Like I can't think of many people who like have that consistent of a track record.
I think the first time I heard this, I was laying in bed because I listen to music at night a lot, and so I'm positive I was laying in bed and I pressed play and I was like, whoa. And so that like for me, that's like perfect time to do it, right? Like being still. No, for me, that's how I needed to receive it, being still and hearing it. Yeah. But it is about like I hear Dylan about like it being about traveling. It's also just about movement in general, I think. Like every time I listen to it, I picture like, I'm not going to describe this probably intelligently, but like I picture like, you know, one of those like shots in a movie where you have the character that's just kind of like probably sitting on something and he's moving, or he or she or they are moving, and like everything around them is like kind of like going in like a circle and they're just sitting there. And I feel like I just picture him rapping and him moving through life, whether he's like not going to sound check, or he's traveling on an airplane, or he's at the park with his kid, like just constant movement. Like it's about that for me too. So like, I say what you were going to say, Rob.
Oh, I was just going to say, I could never fall asleep to this album. Like,
oh, I didn't fall asleep. Yeah.
I thought you were about to say like I listened to it at night trying to go to sleep.
No.
Like,
just like literally like chilling, laying in bed, like the day is done and I'm just chill. Like, no, I couldn't fall asleep to this. Like, it makes me think too much.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, listen, we're coming up on time. I hate to be that guy, but we're about to hit our self-imposed 10-minute mark. But I just want to say a couple things about the project. I don't know how it's possible, but I feel like Woods keeps getting better, particularly when it comes to storytelling. Like, I just feel like he keeps getting more concise. Like the second verse on Kenwood Speakers like blows my mind with how much he's able to communicate in so little time. And the other thing I want to say about Soft Landing, and I feel like I'm probably the last person on earth to come to this realization, but for some reason, this was not an album that I spent a lot of time with, even though I love it. But on Soft Landing, the other day I texted E, I was like, yo, you ever notice how he begins that song by referencing his baby mother, and then he ends that song by referencing, like he goes all over the place talking about all this different stuff. At the beginning, he says, you know, it ruins my whole day when my baby mother is mad at me. And at the end, he says, I text my ex and say, and then he doesn't say what he said, which I love. It hit me the other day. I was like, damn, he is so slick. You use the word slick, but he is slick with his writing, man. It's so impressive. And the production, Kenny Siegel's one of my favorites. He just so sonically pleasing, you know, and we were talking about the intricate detail. Baby Steps might be my favorite beat of the year.
That's a good choice.
I just love the way it moves.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play his game. That's all I have to say. I know he just put out a video game, and I'm excited to play it at some point. Shout out to
I didn't know that.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Apparently he I forget where you can get it, but he like made his own video game because of course him and Pink Navel just put out How to Capture Playful, and I mean, like Kenny Siegel's like a pretty big gamer from what I understand, and he apparently just put one out like maybe 2 weeks, maybe not even 2 weeks ago. I just like saw it on some feed at some point and was like, oh, cool. Is
it connected in any way to How to Capture Playful? I mean, that would fit the like packaging and theme, you know?
Maybe, I don't know. But I'm looking forward to like, that's going to be one of my like holiday craft things, is like sitting down and playing the Kenny Siegel game. So I'm hyped about that. Just had to put that out there.
Day off, big vibes, big ideas, still have to kick the tires. Kick was wide, time expired. I fell out, wasn't even tired. That's why I don't even really mess with OG, but this one tastes like fresh papaya. If the spot got a grill, you know I'm working the fire. If it's cool in the shade, I'ma chill. If it's cool with you, I'ma hit my supplier. If it's any beef today, a good day for a ceasefire. Or if not, creep, shoot to kill, hit or miss, get a good night's sleep, cause now it's gonna be on for real. I'm at a Costco in the Midwest with a pocket full of small bills, folded like tacos, Barato, El Chapo, and it's time to head for the hills. Gazpacho on the veranda, trust me, I know it's hot in the fields. Jimmy Wapo draped over his steering wheel. I was high all day, I escaped. I was high all day, I escaped. I was high all day.
Okay. I want to talk about Nappy Nina and Morning Dew.
Let's go.
So I'm just gonna tell a little story. So I love this album from first listen. I just love the way Nina raps, her voice, her flow, the way she, to me, just sort of embodies Oakland and everything that she says or does, like her style. And I love the production, the featured artist, the artwork, and I want to get into all that. But to start, I have to say, like, what kind of endeared me to this project was sort of defensive-ness of it. There was a review published by a certain outlet who shall remain nameless.
Yeah.
That I disagreed with so much that I ended up on Twitter, like, trying to defend the album, which I try not to do because it's Twitter. But the reviewer offered this criticism about Nina's lyrics as like brief disclosures and said like she doesn't build upon them enough, which kind of suggested to me that like we're somehow entitled to know the source of her grief or the source of her pain. And I took issue with that because I just think it's none of our business. But also, she's a queer Black woman in America in 2023. Like, do we have to think very hard about what the source of her grief could be? Like, and I think that part of what's powerful about this album is that sort of universality. Like, there's a part of me that actually likes that she's not getting too personal with it because it makes it relatable. Like, I can project my own shit on it, you know? Mm-hmm. That's what really made me pay attention to this album. And I just listened to it so much that I, just came to love it even more. The other thing I'll say about the sort of absence or the way she does not expound is to me kind of in line with the theme of the album. Like she's talking a lot about like restlessness, not being able to like experience stillness. And I think her like scattered thoughts or incomplete thoughts about her grief or what's going on in her life, like kind of add to that restlessness, which I appreciate.
Yeah, there was one part of the review you're talking about at the very beginning where the author mentions Nina's words are like thought bubbles, and that I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
like I love that aspect because like so much of this, like I feel like I used the word insular before, but I think that was a really, really cool observation of just like her stuff feels very like it really does feel like the type of stuff you'd see in like a thought bubble. And that's just one of the things I love. And I think it speaks to everything you just said about the way Nina moves and does her thing. That's all. Yeah. You can come back to me later. I have more to say, but y'all go first.
I'll add that to me, like everything about this project communicates feeling. So if, set aside the lyrics, to me, like it starts with the album cover, which I love that photo. And part of the reason I love it is because I follow her on IG and I happen to know that she actually buried herself in the sand in the Middle East to take that photo, which is great. But like the blue of the sky and the desert setting, like communicate this like isolation and loneliness that's implied and a desperate need for rest, of course. And her signature, like hushed tone to me, like always holds a weight that I feel drawn to. The production communicates a certain restlessness. Again, in that review, they referred to it as jittery, which I was like, yeah, okay, I could get on board with that.
Definitely.
The whole thing is just well conceived to me, and I think the guests are perfect. I love all the people on here. I even love the features from people I had not heard of before. Like I'm waiting for, I think it's Omi or Oh My.
I think it's Omi. I could be wrong.
I'm waiting for Omi to drop. I'm like, when will that happen? I'm looking forward to that because Petals, I think, might be my favorite track on the album.
That's a good song.
It's interesting, like hearing you talk about her restlessness, and I wonder, part of me wonders if it's that ties, like that's directly related to the cover. Like when I think about restlessness and I think about, the identities that you named when you talk about Nappy Nina, like of course she's restless because of how she has to move through the world. I remember her putting something once on Twitter. She's been traveling a lot, touring after this album's release, and she said something like, I rate my experience in a country based on how I'm able to move there as a Black queer woman. Mm-hmm. Because I will tell you, being of those same identities, like there's a restlessness in how you have to move every single day. So for me, like looking at this cover, seeing her taking a nap, I feel like it's the rest that she deserves that she doesn't often get. Sort of this almost like not a fantasy, but sort of kind of, because like when is she able to actually do this in the setting in itself too, like being able to do this like in the desert, just being able to be. So it just is interesting, like the juxtaposition there. And I never really thought about that before.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I forget what song it's on, and I'm gonna paraphrase it because I don't remember the exact bar, but it was something like she said something like, I awoke to a fire, I was so tired I went back to sleep. Yeah. And like that's just like I feel like that's the crux of this album, is just like, even in the middle of chaos, you got to find a place to just like rest your head, and like your body will force you to shut down if it's ready to go. And just like, I think like of all of these songs, I think Scuffle's my favorite. Scuffle's one of my favorite beats I heard this year. I believe produced by Nelson Mandela. And like I just like that song is literally synths and a crumbling ball of paper. Like that shit is so ill to me. Like
Yeah.
you know, like that's just, and like she just does her thing over it. Just like she just skips over that whole album. And like that song in particular. Like I love like it was that, and then another thing that always makes me chuckle is what is like considering how all the beats sound. I think there's one point where she calls her shit like hyperlink type beats, and like that's very cute and just something that makes me chuckle. And just like, you know, you get these little peaks, and she, you know, she gets specific when she wants to, and then draws back when she wants to keep things like, you know, like there's you know, like you were saying, Rob, it really just adds to like the intrigue and just like the general air of the project, and just like how you know, like listless it kind of is as a whole. I just like, I love this project. I spent a lot of time with Scuffle and Weeping Waltz in particular when it first dropped. Like I didn't, yeah, like shout out to Cavalier, he's crazy with it.
Yeah.
That verse is nuts. But like, yeah, like I didn't get to spend a ton of time with the album as a whole. I listened to it like quite a few times, but like those two songs are the ones I would keep coming back to. And whichever one the hyperlink type beats line is from, because that song is, I can't remember right now. But
Yeah.
I have a really, really quick story I want to tell, because I
Mhm.
know y'all had Nina on here for it. I had Nina on Real Notes. We had recorded a whole hour-and-a-half long interview, and Zoom deleted it. So we had,
Oh,
so she was in Australia over the summer, and I had to hit her and her manager, and shout out to Ryan, and just be like, hey, the interview's gone. Can we record one more time?
oh, damn
my
it.
God, that's
And
like everybody's worst nightmare. Oh, man.
yeah, man. But she
Oof.
was such a sweetheart. We did it again.
Mm.
Like
Nice.
the interview that's on my page is the second one we did, and I think it turned out better than the first one, but I was so embarrassed. Like I don't use Zoom anymore because of that. I use
Yeah.
Google Meet now, because Google Meet has a much better organizing thing back end. So, but anyway,
Okay.
I love this album. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yes, great album. Don't criticize Nappy Nina. Thank you.
No, don't. I will tell you, the first time I heard this, I was in the whip and I put on Loogie, and man, I turned that shit all, as soon as I heard that beat, I said, nope, let's turn this shit all the way the fuck up. And
Yes.
I don't know where the fuck I was going, but I was driving around for a significant amount of time because I listened to most of the album. But man, that opening track fucking got me. Loogie is the shit, yo. Woo!
Yeah.
Yes. I also love Stone Soup, More Mother.
Yes.
The beat change, the beat switch. It's
Yes.
Nasty.
so good.
Nasty. And More Mother. Come on.
Yep.
Yeah, like yeah, no, like like you can never go wrong with More Mother. Ever.
No.
Lines, non-binary fluid line across the belly. Illuminati Machiavelli. In 7 days I appear, so bomb early. Hail Mary, you can't help me. I'm grown, I've been known to roam. Benny in the jets, cold sweats in the matrix. You hated to love it, you never above it. You hate to love it, you never above it. You're never above it, above it.
Left out, left back, say it with your chest out. Think I let the bread out, shit is like stale now. Bet you on some still base, nothing like a home place. Sipping on stone soup, help for the bone break. When I get back here, feeling like the wrong place. Feeling like the wrong place. Left out, left back, say it with your chest out. Think I let the bread out, shit is like stale now. Bet you on some still base, nothing like a home place. Sipping on stone soup, help for the bone break. When I get back here, feeling like the wrong place. Remember every smoke shop that let me cop for not a lot. Plotting on lungs to close up shop, they closely watch. There's other ways that we will rot inside our spots. Heavy up top, I'm heady. Missing my green, no pesto spaghetti. The prize be hidden in black confetti. Ain't ready already, I'm finding my steady. Babies on blocks, rocking it deadly.
All right, I'm done.
Okay.
I mean, I'm done with that album now.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Back on you, Dylan.
Oh, okay. So I guess yeah, no, let's do Kelly Moonstone. So Kelly Moonstone's I Digress was my second one that came to mind for me. For people who don't know, Kelly is a rapper and singer from Queens. She's super duper dope. Used to sing and rap under the name The Aphrodite. And then I want to say, yeah, like maybe like a year and change ago, maybe closer to 2 years, she changed her name to Kelly Moonstone, and she put out nice, this really nice, smooth, relaxing, just really like enveloping body of work that I found myself going back to a ton. Like she's someone like more often than not, she's kind of like right in the middle of both rapping and singing. And there's just like she just has like such a way with words and such a great voice and such a nice like distinct ear for beats. Like there's beats from like Navy Blue and Budgie on here, and everything is just like so like pillowy soft, and the covers like pinks and purples and flowers, and like this album to me is like pinks and purples and flowers. Like I typically don't like to do comparisons when it comes to stuff like this, but I get a lot of like early Badu from this type of stuff.
Okay.
Like just like mainly in terms of the beats, I think Kelly's a different kind of writer than Erykah Badu is. I think like Erykah Badu is like such a singular presence that it's like hard to compare anybody to her when it comes to like writing. But I think like, like Kelly just kind of navigates life as like a 20 something with like, no money, plenty of weed, unlucky in love. And like I'm just looking at the track list now, and like psilocybin is just like such a beautiful rendition of a mushroom trip, man. Like especially at the very end when she's like having a conversation with the tree, and the tree just tells her like, you're really high, you gotta chill. The way the beat cuts out when it happened, just like once again, like the little things like that, like I love like how I love how steamy a song like Sinner is, and Burn Your House Down. Digress is one of my favorite songs I've heard this year. Just a really nice middle ground between the singing and rapping again, and just like, like the little jokes and just like her just popping her shit. Like I've had the pleasure of like getting to know her pretty well, and just like watching her evolve into Kelly Moonstone, and like have this moment, and it's been like once again, I'm just like a proud friend, just like watching my people just like come up, and just like come up on something that's really special. And like she got on the Navy Blue album, she's on Sage's album, it's great, her feature is fantastic. I saw her perform it live, and everyone in the crowd was like, it was like people were there to see her, like her performing the verse on that song. Like I don't know, like this is such like a playful but like really like determined and like focused album. Like for this to be like, it isn't her debut because she's made music before, but it's just nice to see this. It's just nice for this first statement under a new name to be just such like a focused and fun and thoughtful and smooth and soulful piece of work, and it's just it's super dope. I'm like I can't wait to see where she takes it from here. That's all I got. Shout out to Kelly always.
So I first heard her on that Navy Blue track that you were talking about, and she really got my attention. And then I saw she was dropping an album, really looking forward to it. But I have to be honest, initially, like I wanted her to rap more on this album.
I feel you.
Don't get me wrong. She's got a beautiful voice, but she's a dope MC too. And I think because it didn't. This is selfish, but it didn't meet my expectations, so I didn't spend as much time with it as I could have. So I'm glad that you picked it because I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed listening to it the last couple of weeks. I'm just going to read some things from my notes, Dylan.
Please.
Comparisons can be lazy, but I can't listen to this album without thinking about Jill Scott. So we were close on that, I think.
I heard a lot of Jill Scott in there too, for sure.
Same camp.
Yeah. The voices just seem similar to me, but they both just have this ability to sing about like average, everyday life in a way that feels like light and relatable. Okay, the other thing I wrote in my notes, I love the album cover because it actually reflects the sound of the album, like you were saying, like the colors, the softness of it, and an unassuming quality. The best song about psilocybin this year, just really great. And Digress is my favorite. I love that song. I don't make a resolution. I just go for it. Amen.
Yeah, felt that.
Mhm.
I don't know how old she is, but this sounds like a really, even though it sounded like somebody who was in a woman navigating life in their 20s or 30s, it sounded like a very mature album. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me, it sounds like a veteran that has been doing this for years and years and years. That's what I thought when I listened to this. And I hadn't really dug into this at all before you picked it for this episode. So I was just like, came into it not really knowing much. And I was really impressed after I was done listening to it, just because of how it sounded. And it was fun, and it was about everyday life. And it just had this like sound quality that I wasn't expecting, I guess. And maybe that's because I didn't know anything about Kelly, but it just, I was blown away just like listening to this and how good it was. I think it definitely, I didn't go in with any expectations, I think. And so that's why, when I heard it, it like really exceeded, anything that I could have thought it would sound like.
Yeah, nah, like it's just like I can't think of many people who come into a new name or even just into music, period, who sound so fully formed.
Yes.
Like she feels like she's been here for 3 lifetimes.
Yes.
And it's crazy that and it's crazy, Rob, that you mentioned Jill Scott, because I was in Chicago earlier this year and I was re-listening to Who Is Jill Scott for the first time in a long time, and I started kind of like, once again, not like a comparisons person like that, but I started like pointing out a few things, and I'm like, Kelly kind of sounds like this part of the I just started connecting dots, because that's just like I don't like comparisons, but I do connect dots. That's what I like to do, and like it was, I just I'm like to both of y'all points. I just think this is very mature, and it's. Like it's once again, like it's really well balanced in terms of like just like the emotions on display. Like it's fun and playful when it wants to be. It's serious, and like there's a lot of really like fucked up talk on Digress. Like that's a pretty like some of that goes to some really dark places, but it never feels you're never crushed by the weight of that. That's not the type of album this is. Like it's just like a thing that you gotta. It's just another thing to put in the backpack before you move out the house. Like it's I like that about her writing. Like the world the world doesn't feel as big when I listen to that album, if that makes sense. I really love it for that quality, and it's and also really nice cold weather album. I'm excited to spend more time with that during the winter, because there's a song on here called Warm, and this album is very much that to me. It's a very warm, inviting album, and I'm excited to like just sit with it like a log fire or some shit. I don't know. I'm just bullshitting, but yeah.
No, making a lot of sense though.
Y'all have used the word like mature, and the word that I thought of was poised. She's just got this presence, and she sounds so poised.
Big
and
time.
That makes me think of Jill Scott too, but like what you're saying, Dylan, like comparisons, to me, it's more like a legacy that's like being continued. There's like there's a history in the music that she makes. Definitely.
Yeah, and like she's definitely carrying on a tradition and like a lineage and all that. So it's, like it's I'm just excited to see where she goes from here, because when I had her on the show earlier this year, I told her like, you need to be rapping more. Like that was I think about halfway through, I was like, I wanted more raps on here, and she was like, me too. Like she's ready to do more raps, so I'm excited to see her really lean into the rap bag. So shout out to that project. Great one.
Happy 2023. Look, I don't make a resolution, I just go for it. I can't smoke to cope no more, so I just raw dog it. Had to cut the nigga off that I was raw dogging. Gotta move tack, better usage of the not getting. Use my whole life. Lost my way a little, I was driving through the fogging. It takes some time to get up when nobody sees you falling. Dirt under my nails, cause I've been crawling from the bottom. help me, I don't got none. Cause I'm a realist and I'm pragmatic. I get cynical, at times I panic. I get bitchy and I'm erratic. I'm impulsive and full-blown manic. Future scares me, so I obsess. Wonder if I'm cut out for this. Tired of lessons, my life's no test. Nigga, I'm depressed, but I digress.
Before I go into my next pick, I just want to say that I love that we are talking about Black women a lot on this episode. Yeah, I love it. I love it. It makes my heart happy. And so, perfect time to go into my next picks. Sundial by No Name.
God.
Woo-wee! This album was an event for me before it came out and when it came out. I mean, as soon as No Name announced it was coming, the countdown was on. And when it came out, I listened to it right away, twice, back to back. And every time I listen to it still, I feel like a student when I engage with this project because there's so many lessons being taught here. Lessons about love, about self-care, about faith, about community, about the universe, about advocacy, lessons that are specifically for Black folks. And I soak it all up like a sponge. You know, it's clear to me and probably everybody else that this is No Name's declaration of independence. I mean, she's embracing the freedom that she's given herself as an artist and all the good things and the bad things that come along with that in doing this work in such a complicated and controlling industry. She does not give a fuck anymore. And I feel like that is this album. I feel like she's always sort of moved that way, but she really made it clear on this album, and just hearing her talk about it since it's been released, you know, and there's just so many things to unpack on this album, so many things, a lot of reflection on both her life and like inner reflection, but also just reflection on like the Black community in general. And one thing I really appreciate her, when she offers criticism there, she doesn't exclude herself from it. She always calls herself out and names that she isn't perfect. She's a product of capitalism. She is a product of the conditioning of white supremacy. And that is never something that she's above. Like, she has said that. I've heard her say that in interviews. I heard that say that on social media. And it is very clear to me on this album. And that is one thing that I respect her a great deal for, just as a person and specifically as an artist. When I'm listening to this album, it's all there. You know, there's just so many things. So one of the tracks that I really, really, really love on this is Gospel. It's a track that features Billy Wood, and I forget the other artist's name. Is it
Silk Money? Silk
Money, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I'm so bad with that stuff. But first time I heard it, I cried. It's just a beautiful track. The chorus, just the chorus about like hanging on to faith, even when it's really hard to, you know, that's the message that I received from it. But what I think is interesting and where like things that she's talking about on other parts of the album tie in is that when I first heard this song, it reminded me of how I felt when I first heard Kendrick Lamar's "We Gonna Be All Right." And I stopped feeling that way when I saw clips of him performing at the Super Bowl. And I saw people like J-Lo and Ben Affleck dancing to it, singing to it. And it's just interesting to me that she calls him out for that in Namesake. Like, she's like, like she's like mocking him and Rihanna and Jay-Z. And it's just so interesting that I felt what I did about his song that I now feel about Gospel. It just sort of all ties in for me. So I just had that reflection when I was listening to that this week. But yeah, the singing on here is phenomenal. I mean, shout out to Ione. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I've never heard her voice before this, and she really just like has a presence on this album. Yeah, you know, the track, bro. Yeah, crazy, on Boom Boom and Oblivion, like she makes a song, especially on Boom Boom. She goes in, and I don't know if anybody's seen the Tiny Desk. No Name brings her on the Tiny Desk, and she fucking kills it. It's so good. Yeah, this album is just, it's a moment for me. As somebody, I forget what medium it was, but it was saying like, this is like, feels like a hip hop revolution or revolution in hip hop when they were writing about it. But I would have to agree with that. I just feel like she is naming where hip hop should be, you know, as a medium that has uplifted communities. She's naming where hip hop should be. And also just sort of in talking about like where it's flawed, but also not being above that. Right. So like her talking about like having to perform at Coachella and saying that she wasn't going to, but she did anyway. And she's like, fuck, they got me, so her sort of not being above what she's calling for in terms of action and where we should be at. So I'll stop there.
It's like you got to watch out for the artists who are willing to lose fans over what they believe in. And she's one of those. She always has been. But I think to your point, E, like this is definitely this is her tossing down of the gauntlet. When I wrote an end of the year blurb for this one, which is why I didn't pick it, or else it would have been on my list too. But like I just there's just so much to unpack here, and just like so many contradictions in so many different ways. We don't have to talk about the situation that happened with the Jay Electronica verse. But like that, I mean, like it's a like he did his thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I have a lot of issues with Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, and that's a whole other conversation. But like, I think like this album is so special to me. Like when I heard it the first time, I put it down and was. Like, I haven't felt that way about a ton of projects this year, but I was like, oh, this is one of my favorite things I heard this year, like immediately.
Yeah.
Like it was when I got to gospel too. I was like, oh, this is like album of the year material for me.
Yes. Yes.
Just in like, like not even just the confidence to just like put herself out there and not exclude herself from all the other bullshit that she calls everybody else out on, but just like the musicality of this project is nuts. The beats go so crazy. The beat what's it called, the beat on Black Balloons is everything.
Yes.
Like the choir on Gospel is everything. Real quick, I didn't want to dwell on it too long, but shout out to Silk Money. He had my favorite project of last year with the title, I don't give a fuck about this rap shit, so I'm gonna keep dropping until I don't care anymore. That's what it's called. Go find it. Silk Money he's one of the best rappers on planet Earth right now. Go listen to his shit. But yeah, just like seeing her bring the two of them, her, Silk Money, and Billy Woods, just once again, like like 3-person weave situation on that whole song. Like their verses complement each other so well. But like No Name is just like, I don't even know how to put into words how much I appreciate her writing style, the way she, like the way she flows, the way she like thinks about stuff, like even the way she started the album with just like all the different names and just like calling herself like a librarian, contrarian, like I don't know, I just like she was just tap dancing all over this whole album. It's like it's a rap clinic. It's it's a really nice I imagine she's got quite a few younger fans, and I imagine for them this is going to be a nice little, like revolutionary socialist theology 101 type of situation. And like a lot of, and like even the way, one thing that's been getting me about the album, listening to it again recently, is like a song like Beauty Supply is really hard to pull off and not sound like a preachy asshole who doesn't think people should wear weave or whatever the fuck, like just like the idea of like being in the beauty supply store and like thinking about what the implications of that are without being judgmental about it. Like it's like there's like a lot of tact on this project. Like she's judgmental when she needs to be. She's not reserved, but like she's judgmental when she needs to be, understanding when she needs to be. Yeah, and this shit just rips, bro. Like I don't know. Like it's just good music. Like it sounds great. It sounds great. And,
yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. There's just a balance. Like when you're talking about Beauty Supply, like she doesn't end that track without saying, but I'm also my own worst enemy because of like the conditioning. Right. Like I'm not excluded from what I'm saying. And that's what I appreciate so much, because that inner introspection is not always there when I'm listening to projects like this. It's not. Yeah. And that's what makes a difference for me here.
Yeah. It's I think I might enjoy, like this is almost as good as Telephone to me. Not quite. I think this has better beats than Telephone, but I think Telephone's I don't know. It's close. Like I haven't fully decided yet, but it's really it's so crazy, man. This is a great project. That's all I got.
I think there's something really special about a person's self-examination, like what she's doing on this album, that contributes to other people's self-examination, you know? And I just think there's so much room for that on this project. You know, I listened to Balloons and it had me examine myself. Like, am I one of the casual white fans buying tickets to trauma music? Like, I had to sit with that for a minute.
Right.
Definitely one of the things I love about the project. I mean, I'm like, yo, I love this album immediately. The other thing I'll say about her, just her in general, is I just love the way, like, how real she is. Like, the way she backs up what she says online and social media in her music. You know, she's not just online talking shit. Like, she went in the studio, she put it on record, and she's naming names, and I love that. And I just love at the end of Oblivion, like, she summed up the whole thing. Like, I don't care, I'm going to talk my shit.
Yeah. You know, because like somebody has to, like people, you know, like this is very much like a throwing down of the gauntlet type of album, you know, just like in terms of like, oh, she's calling people out and she's like barring people up too. Like it's not even like the wordplay is lacking and she's just like dropping knowledge. Like she's barring people up. Like this is like there's a period there's one bar where she mentioned something like, oh, like, you know, like y'all don't even like something about like you don't write your shit or whatever, but like I forget it. I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but it's just like she really was just like, you think you're better than me? Prove it. Come do whatever. Get at me. You know, like it's like the Get At Me album, you know, like she's very much and that's great, you know, like I can't think of very many other like Get At Me albums that came out this year in that way where it's like, I did this, where's yours? You know, and it really just speaks for itself. And it just,
And who else, like when she was like, I don't fuck with Jay-Z, who else is saying that? Who else fucking, I mean, people hint all they want. People are saying like, oh, this person's doing this. I feel like people skirt around shit. And she said, I don't give a fuck. I don't fuck with Jay-Z. I don't fuck with the NML. Like, go Rihanna, go. Like, you doing all this, you dancing, doing all this bullshit, but like, look what the hidden agenda. Look at what the hidden agenda is, or not even hidden shit. Like,
right.
And so, like, for me, I respect that shit when you can talk shit and back it up. Like Rob was just saying, like, she is definitely doing that on here, and I think she was sort of in this position where she's like, "Fuck it, I don't care anymore. Like, this is what I'm about. Either you're with it or you're not, and if I lose shit, so be it."
I was in Brooklyn at Mike's Young World when she debuted that song. So like that was at Herbert Von King Park in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn. She said, I don't fuck with the NFL or Jay-Z in fucking Bed-Stuy. Yo.
That's some real shit.
Yeah.
Like everyone in the crowd was like,
ooh.
Yeah.
Like it was like people noticed. That was a choice to do that song in that setting at that time. And I got nothing but respect for her for that. That was ill. That was crazy.
And no one, I have not heard anyone else do some shit like that but her.
Wild, man. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Love to know name.
Yeah, for real.
Make believe, must have seen, move the mountain, assume the outcome is safety and permanent housing. I roam with a falcon, a tree spotted, taught me accounting. I'm about to get these white people caught up, and they better lies. Webster dictionary cries, colonized native tongue, missionary Bible belt, motherland overrun. My gun heavy, I'm about to unload. This is an ode to Haiti, Mozambique, Martinique, Trinidad, Grenada, wherever black people sleep. Pray for them, pray for me, pray for me, pray for me.
The storm will come, but best believe the sun will shine.
Folks familiar with our show are familiar with this album, I'm sure, because we had Stick Figure and The Expert on shortly after they dropped their project Ritual. But Ritual has to be one of my favorites of this past year. I can't remember. I might have been saying this to you recently, E, but I feel like I'm very much interested in like different sounding stuff that is, I almost said the word weird, but I don't want to say the word weird. Like just outside the norm, it pushes the boundaries in some ways, exercises great creativity. And this is not, I don't mean no disrespect to these guys, but that's not what this album is. Like, Stick is just rapping. He's just rapping his ass off. And the production isn't something that I think is like out there or breaking any new ground. It's just solid, soul-based, and somehow psychedelic at the same time. Just great production. You know, the album starts with Black America. The first time I heard it, very first listen, Stick starts by saying, "We want to thank you for your thoughts and prayers." It's clear that he's being sarcastic, and I was like, okay, we're on the same wavelength here. Like, that kind of exhaustion and sarcasm, relatable. But I love how he follows up a song like Black America with You Know What, featuring Blue, and it just provides like this very positive message about like, hey, let's help each other out. Like, and does it in a way that's not corny. I just thought that was a great decision. And to me, like, speaks to the way the album is sequenced so well. It just flows for me. Nothing jarring about it. I love I know we talked about this on the show, E, but I love the instrumental piece that the expert put after Cost of Business. The track is titled Rob Peter, Pay Paul Bearer. It's just really melancholy sounding like piano piece that fits the message on Cost of Business so well. I just thought that was powerful. I love a good beat switch, and there are several on this album. The song with Blue switches up, but oh my God, Zambezi Zinger with Tanya Morgan is just so great to me. I just love the energy on that track. I was talking about the psychedelic aspects of the production, the electric guitar in the fourth like movement of Zambezi Zinger just is so great. I love that. Yeah, just for me, solid all the way around. Another album with great features. I love all the guys who show up on this album.
Yeah. So I won't front. I didn't get to listen to this one. This one slipped me by this year, like fully. Like I didn't even get time to listen to this before we came on, and I'm sorry about that. But Stick Figure is somebody I have a lot of respect for. I've been a fan of his for a long time, ever since I first heard Smoke Rings on him and Larange's album. The City Under the Sun, great shit. I love Stick's personality. I love his voice. I love just like his technique. You know, like just like all the work he's done with Conductor Williams, and like, he was working with Conductor Williams before Griselda plucked him out of obscurity and put him, like to the point where he's on a fucking Drake record. Like, Conductor Williams made it onto a Drake record this year. That's nuts to me still. But like Stick Figure is somebody who I think is he's just somebody I think is super dope. I love his style. I love his perspective, and I appreciate. I know there was a period of time where he was going to retire, and I'm happy that hasn't happened. I'm happy he's still here, kicking it, and just giving out great shit. This is something that I'm definitely going to run. I might even listen to it as soon as we get off. But just like, shout out to Stick, that's a cold dude right there. Shout out to him.
Well, and hearing you talk about it, Rob, it just, and I don't know that I would have described it necessarily like this before, but it's a really easy listen, not necessarily without complexities and uniqueness, but it's just such an easy listen. Like, you put it on and you're like locked in. And I think that's because of the production, but also just because of Stick Figure. Mm-hmm. Like, he's sort of just almost talking sometimes in a way about just real shit. And I find like that approach really relatable, like his style, but also like how he's talking about things. I mean, there's like some heavy shit on some of these songs, and he talks about it in a way that just makes you feel connected, like you're familiar with him and his experience and sort of able to put it in relation to your own life experiences. And I really appreciated that about this album when I first heard it. Another thing I really enjoyed were the different sort of styles that the expert used here in the production. I really think that there are parts of this album where he did that sort of helped really tell Stick Figure's story, and also like the story of the Black community. Like, I'm thinking specifically of jazz, and it just was really, that just made it more enjoyable for me, and made me feel further connected to the album.
I think Stick, for me, similar to Nappy Nina, like really embodies his like where he's from. Like, I hear him rhyme and I can hear like the South in all its forms, like in his style. And yeah, I think that contributes to a certain kind of space in his music, and particularly on this record, because you're right. He is frequently rhyming about like fairly serious stuff. You know, it is the project that he was making like when he was anticipating retiring. So for me, it feels like he's just getting a lot of shit off his chest, and a lot of it's like a lot of it's serious. But he rhymes about it in a way that like isn't heavy, and I kind of attribute that to his Southern roots. But you know, it could be something else. I don't know. But he has a certain presence that I really enjoy.
Yeah, no, I agree, because like he's he's a Kansas boy, and we don't have very many of those.
Right.
You know, like it's I had the chance to talk to him a few times as well, and just like son is he all like we like people consider Kansas to be like a flyover state. It's like nobody, like people who aren't from there don't really think about it, and he's talked quite a bit about how all like the Southern influence and a lot of West Coast influence comes over like into like the Kansas rap scene, which I think is really interesting, because I hear, you're talking about how you hear the South. I hear the South and the West. Like I hear like Mac Dre and E40 as much as I might hear like Bun B when I think about Stick Figure. Like there's something so, once again, like really versatile, like sneakily versatile too. Like he'll pop up on all different kinds of beats that you would never expect him to do. And just like, I was having a conversation with a homie about a different artist yesterday, but I think Stick also embodies this, so I want to make this point. Like the idea of like the artist and not the producer defining the song. Just like whenever Stick's on a song, he doesn't like modulate himself or like change up his style. He's not the type of person who like adapts to fit the beat. Like he or at least like not always. Like more often than not, like he's gonna talk about the same shit on the Experts beat that he'd talk about on a Larange beat or a Conductor Williams beat or whoever. Like he doesn't let the song define him. He comes to it and defines the song. And that's something I've always really admired about his music, and that's something I'm going to be looking for when I finally get the chance to sit with Ritual. And I'm sorry again that I didn't get to listen to it. I feel like an asshole, man.
No, you're good.
It's all good. You live a busy life like the rest of us. It's all good. I don't have much else to say about it, but I just feel like I need to give some respect to the Expert. I know I talked about production already, but I've had trouble articulating this. But like similar to Kenny Siegel, like a song of theirs will come on and I'm just like, there's something about it sonically, like the quality of it, that I'm just like, this is how you produce a song. Like this is real production. There are definitely moments like that on this album. So shout out to the Expert.
Yeah, big ups.
Yeah, put your feet in the shoes of the other man instead of trying to backdoor him just to get the upper hand. You know what? Run your race, pop fly, but never land. Pocket watch and don't add value except on the other hand. You know what? Take some time to invest in yourself. Collect interest, know you grit and stop neglecting yourself. You know what? Beyond a check, a trophy set on the shelf. Self-fulfillment remains the greatest metric of wealth. You know what? Put your feet in the shoes of the other man instead of trying to backdoor him just to get the upper hand. And yeah. Sing it, y'all. Yeah. So much pressure be wanting to unwind. Be surprised what we carry on two shoulders and one spine. You know what? My life in the sunshine. Love don't cost a thing, but it's harder to come by. You know what? Closed mouths don't get fed. Open your mind. Constant is the only change. Can't be frozen in time. You know what? Extend grace. We suffer broken designs. Her seeing is believing, then we start to go blind. You know what? Weight of the world is the measure of a man. Sacrificing simple pleasures. Give our babies a chance.
Is it back to me again? My turn? Okay, so this one's gonna be a little unorthodox, but real quick, I wanna give a really, really special, like real quick aside shout out to Lungs and Feek, because their album almost made it on here. Another Planet 4 is fucking incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Like them, like nobody's rapping like the two of them right now. I just want to put that out there. Yeah, like that album's great. Just run it up everywhere. Anyway. Let's talk about Tisa Korean, and let me update my status, because I've been a Tisa Korean nut for the last like 2 years. I was big into snap music as a kid, and he just kind of makes snap music. You know, like Soulja Boy, them Franchise Boys, like that very particular era of like Atlanta and the South, you know, just in general. But like his stuff is like so modern and so zippy and so fun, you know, like it's just such a, like there's something so hypnotic about a song like Helicopter Swag to me. It's like it's literally just him just telling people to just twirl a white tee around their head and it's just so simple and so direct, and like it's just like you could tell that he, you know, just like from the way the songs are written out, and every single one of them has a .mp3 on the end, to just like to just like his, because like he produced the whole thing too, so just like his ear, you know, like he just has such a, he has such an affinity for like that early 2000s or early to mid to even late 2000s like snap music era Atlanta swag that I just love, you know, like it's just so intoxicating to me. And like he gets like silly little bars off here and there, just like just like a lot of sex talk and swag talk, and just like I don't know, like, it's just super ill to me. I have so much fun. It puts me in such a good mood when I listen to it. And I can say that it's definitely the most fun I had listening to a project this year, just in terms of just like unabashed, not even turn your brain off, but just very much like, you know, just like tune it to this specific frequency for 32 minutes. You know, it just works. And I think my favorite song on this project is Hypnotize. I think one really underrated aspect of Tisa Korean's whole thing is like like his sung songs are just like, they just tend to not get as much attention usually as like the rap stuff does, but just like stuff like this, or like his voice is like super duper pitch shifted, but he's just like singing sweet nothings, and it's cool. There was another song on this, he had an EP that was based around, he put out an EP for the Super Bowl, funny enough, and it's a song called Backseat. When it came out, I think I compared it to like if Knowledge, like the producer Knowledge, really in like if he really got into like old Soulja Boy music instead of like the Meek Mill freestyles for like the Meek series, like that's what Backseat sounds like to me. And it's just, and like the vocals are pitch shifted, like on the other end they're super high, and it's just like a cute little ditty that I think about a lot to this day. And Mike actually remixed it on his DJ Black Power album, Dr. Grabo, the beat tape that he put out. And like it's just like at the end, and they redid it in like a jungle sort of like a drum and bass type of thing. But I'm drifting. I love this fucking record. I love Let Me Update My Status. It's very nostalgic for me, but also not like, it doesn't dwell, and it doesn't feel like derivative or corny. It's like somebody just figured out a way to turn this sound and make it feel fresh and new. And it made me ready to go back to Target and get my next 5-pack of Goodfellow white tees. So shout out to Tisa.
I forget what song it's on. I think he's like talking to a girl, but he's like, I'm gonna make you feel like you back in college again. And like that's sort of what I pictured when I heard this album. It's definitely something that we would have been rocking at a house party. It's definitely something that I probably would have been listening to in my 20s right before I was going to go out, or they were playing at the bar or whatever. Like it definitely took me back there. And I had never heard of the project before. So I was like almost curious as to whether or not he was like giving a nod to this former era or making fun of it, or, you know, because there are aspects of it that sound like the newer style of rap, like a newer style of rap that's like you can hear today. So he definitely like intertwines the past and the present for sure. But I was just so curious. Like I kept listening to it and I was just like, this is not something I think that would normally be in my rotation. But I was just so fascinated by what I was hearing. I just kept going and going and going. And I was like, what is he trying to do here? Like, I was just so, like, I was like really curious.
I'll be honest, this album made me feel really old. because it's not something that I have ever chosen to listen to. And I feel like I don't have those college memories. I don't know what happened. Maybe I didn't go out enough. It's just this kind of music just never crossed my path. That being said, one of the things that stuck out to me was the production. Like, I was kind of surprised by it at times, like, because it doesn't fit what I have in my mind for this kind of snap music, like you're talking about, Dylan, like the early 2000s or mid 2000s. The track, like stood out to me in this way.
That's a good one.
Like, I was like, this almost sounds like the Neptunes could have produced this, like, at some point. So the production was I don't know, fuller and more diverse and interesting to me than I would have imagined from one of these, like a Soulja Boy project, for instance. Also, a lot of laugh out loud like moments for me. Like, at some point he says, "Shawty got me hard like a puzzle," and I just, I got stuck on that, and I was like, "Yo, that is so funny. That is so funny." Yeah, so it definitely has he uses the word silly in a way that I'm not sure that I understand, but I think that fits certain moments on this project for sure.
Yeah, like that's his whole thing, is like he's silly, and like silly is just like it's like a term of endearment, like get silly, have fun.
Okay.
Like that's I speaking of college, I was at I was invited to this he played this NYU show. It was him, this the Massachusetts rapper Diz, who's super duper dope. Nothing like Tisa Korean at all. So it was really funny to watch people see Diz and then go into Tisa. But like he's the type of artist who like passes stuff out to people. He gave people white tees and towels to spin when they get helicopter swag at the show. It was amazing, man. His live presence is nuts. But yeah, like his whole thing is like he's silly and like silly this, silly that. That's just his whole thing. For me, this is very much like, I want to say like high school for me, because I was in high school in 2006, from 2006 to 2010. So like this is very, like MySpace, like top 8. Yeah. Like, but like I'm like y'all were saying, this is definitely very contemporary in a lot of ways. Like it's like he's from Texas, and there's also a lot of Texas in this too. Like it's not just like snap music in Atlanta. Like once again, he's somebody who, like Knows the Time, or like Kenny Siegel, like he has a bass, and he just kind of pulls in everything that he thinks is interesting into that bass. And he's someone like he's got a vision, like it's not maps, but like this is like I'm intimately familiar with some of the stuff that he's like conjuring on this album, and it's just, I don't know, man. Like like Silly Bandana is like I can't think of a song more basic than Silly Bandana. Like just like it's such a great way to start the album, and like it just fits, and it just once again just puts me in a good mood, like makes me want to dance and just be out and about. And he's someone who's like so adventurous, and like Kelly, like really playful and just like fun. Like this is a fun album, like there's nothing like there's nothing super deep or super serious about it. And once again, this isn't like turn your brain off, because there's there's a lot to pick up on if you're like listening to the words, but it's just like it just did it for me, like this is like like when I'm not in the mood to run through When It Doesn't Start With a Kiss from the Arm & Hammer album for the 80th time, like I'm throwing on something like Tisa Korean usually. So yeah, this was and yeah, no, like with Rob, when you hit me about it, you were like, it's gonna make for a lively convo, and I was like, I almost wanted to just be like, buckle up, son. This is something else. But I appreciate y'all humoring me and letting me talk a bit about Tisa, because this album's great.
Yeah. It's sorry, Rob, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think we always try to emphasize that we're talking about, our favorite projects from the year, things that we really like. So this qualifies for sure.
Hell yeah.
Everything you're saying about this album, how it's fun. Like, so for me, like, it's just as important to have Sundial as it is to have this album. Like, I think you need albums like this just as much as you need albums like Sundial or Maps, because it's important to have fun. Like, it's important to have that feeling, to have that joy. I can't remember exactly what Toni Morrison says when she says this, but there's always this quote that I remember that she more or less says, like, we can't always be in crisis. Like it's we're about joy too. Like it's okay to have joy. Like, you know, so I think this album is just as important as the other ones we talked about.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, it's life's all about balance. We're a dichotomy of civilization,
right?
Type of people over here. So yeah, this is a good time. I'm excited to once again like spend some more time with this by myself. But yeah, it's great.
I can just see you turning up when you listen to it.
Oh yeah, but you put on a silly bandana, I'm running through a wall. It's over. It's over. Like that's
okay.
That's my Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem Family Ties moment. Like you put that on, I'm on 100.
All right, we all got them songs, right?
Let me dance. Silly bandana, 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 with a silly fana, we got silly hammer, I'm a silly scammer, bitch from Alabama, call her silly Hannah, pull up fucking hit it, like a damn piano, ooh, shawty got me harder than a fucking puzzle, rolling up a joint like a fucking muscle, every song banging, you better shit on shuffle, Tisa got some hoes like a fucking puddle.
Okay, I think it's time to bring it home.
Let's go.
One more.
So here's the overlap. So the last album we're going to talk about is Shook World. I have a lot of stories about this album. So the first one I'll tell is before it came out, a couple months before it came out, there was a joint showcase at National Sawdust in Brooklyn. So as everyone probably knows, like Shook World is part of Algiers, right? So like Gang took Algiers Shook World and turned it into something completely unique. So they did a showcase at National Sawdust. It was Algiers, and then it was the PTP family, if you will. So when I say Gang, I mean King Vision Ultra. I got to watch them perform parts of Shook World before it came out, and I'm speaking specifically of Gang and crew, and it was fucking incredible. One of the best things about this project for me is being introduced to people I didn't know before, and I'm thinking specifically about Desde and Nakama. So I got to see them.
Fucking Nakama, man.
Man. When I saw him perform on stage that night and he did Swing, I was blown away. I was like, and I was by myself, and I wish I was with somebody because I wanted to tap somebody and be like, who is that? Who is that? Because I didn't know. He just came on stage and he did his thing, and it was just fucking incredible. And same with Desde. Like they went on stage, did their thing, and it was just so fucking incredible. So by the time this album came out, I was fucking ready. And I won't front, like Gang did send us an advanced copy, so I heard some of it, but I was ready. As soon as it came out, I was ready because I had seen like the live version of it, and then Lucid was there, Amani was there, Masai was there, and they did their songs too, and it was just fucking phenomenal. This is, for me at least, probably the most unique project that came out in 2023. No one else did something like this. And for me, that alone is one of the reasons that I connected with it. Just what Gang has done on this. He just really has this talent for bringing people together, creating this community and making really beautiful art out of it. And you hear that throughout this project. And I love that so much. He's just sort of this curator, if you will. And I love that about that. He's done that on other projects, but this in particular, I just feel like that is so present on Shook World. So I'll shut up and I'll let Rob talk about it.
I mean, I'm not sure what to say now because you said a lot. Yeah, as far as like uniqueness, there's so many layers here. From a conceptual standpoint, like this idea of taking some other band's stems and making a whole new album out of, like, what is that? That's so crazy. I love that.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that and not just make something completely unique, but like build this entire world. It is a world on this project. And it's not just a world, it's like it's New York, right? The New York subway.
So New York.
Like I don't understand how this isn't every New Yorker's favorite album. But yeah, from a conceptual standpoint, I just think it's so unique and incredible. You know, and it's like I guess this is PTP in general, but it's like a who's who of, you know, New York independent artists, not just PTP artists, but adjacent artists. Like you were saying, you know, I had in my notes, introduced me to two really dope artists, Desday and Nakama. I remember this was like probably months before Shook World came out. I was talking with Gang about some show lineup that I was like really impressed by. And Nakama was on I didn't know who he was, but Nakama was on the list, and he was like, don't sleep on Nakama. Like that kid is dope. And I didn't hear him until Shook World and Swing. Oh my God.
What a record, bro.
Yeah. I mean, not just Nakama, like that beat is crazy. And one of the things I really appreciate about Gang is, I mean, there are a number of things, I guess, but one of is it doesn't feel that complicated. Like there's a simplicity to it that I appreciate. There's always a meditative quality, and this project in particular, there is just this cohesion. There's this, I think I said this to him when he was on the show, but to me, it feels like there's this bed that like runs through a bed of noise that to me feels very city-like, that runs underneath the whole thing, that brings the whole thing together and kind of makes it possible to have all these artists from different genres that you might not think about putting together on paper, but then when you hear them, you're just like, man, everything just works so well together. I remember listening to this project back when I had a commute, listening to this project on the train here in Philly, and it's not in New York, of course, but I remember thinking like, this is how this project was made to listen to, like on the train, public transit, stopping everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. Such an industrial album, you know, like this really just sounds like it sounds like a crunching gears, like exhaust fumes, like somebody's old pizza slice popped out of the garbage and jumped down your throat type of album. Like that's what I like this is Gang also sent it to me early as well, and head bust moment, man. Like I just like I think I had to pause the album like 5 or 6 times and be like, God damn, like what am I listening to right now? Real quick aside, Gang hit me about that National Sawdust show. And I was like, oh, I can't make it. I'm so sorry. I have somewhere else to be. So I saw Odyssey play at Music Hall of Williamsburg. And unbeknownst to me, guess where National Sawdust is? Right next door to Music Hall of Williamsburg. So I get out of the show and I walk over and I see like Big Flowers. I see Fatboy Sharif. I see like all like my homies just like in the cut. And I'm like, what are y'all doing here? They're like, we're here for I see Drive By. It was Drive By who was like, I see Drive By. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm here for the Shook World show. I'm like, this is National Sawdust? Like I was on my way to the Odyssey show, and I'm like, damn, like I would much rather be going to, like I popped out at the very end, and I got, and I'm sorry we didn't get to meet. That would have been great.
Yeah, that would have been dope. Yeah.
But either way, like it was, you know, like hearing that album and, you know, once again, you know, like to both of y'all's points, like Gang is so good at fostering a really beautiful sense of community that feels organic, and it doesn't feel like people just came together to like make music for the sake of, you know, like they came to do it for the sake of like creativity. And like Nakama's bit is really special to me because he and I went to school together. And he's a part of a band called Poetic Thrust that you know, like I watched them come up, you know, so like to see people check in for Nakama, I'm just like it just did my heart so good to see like my friend from college just like killing shit, and like everybody being like, who is Nakama? Because like I feel like he's kind of the breakout star of this album, you know. I mean like to the extent that an album like this is about one individual artist, you know, like he's the one everyone keeps coming back to. It's like it's Swing, it's Nakama, who's that, you know? But like once again, like y'all said, like Amani bodied his shit, Masai bodied her shit, Elucid bodied his shit, you know. These and you know, like Right.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
like, oh, like to your point, Rob, the only other person I can think who's done a project like this in this way is Premier when they did the Prime records. Because like those Prime records are made from like the guts of I think the first one was all Adrian Young music and the second one was all Ant-Man Wonder music. So like I can't think of anybody else who's like taken stems and taken music like that and just like put it together. Like this is very much like in that tradition, but obviously like way it's just more raw, like it's you know how sometimes you'll see like a lineup for like the Roots Picnic since you're in Philly, like, and it'll be like J Period presents the da 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 live mixtape. Like J Period's dope. I think that's extremely corny. This is what I think of when I think of a live mixtape. This is a living, breathing organism as a mixtape.
Yeah.
Like, like this is like wandering around at 12:45 in the morning looking for a $2 slice of pizza before you hop back on the NJ Transit back home so you don't got to take the Amtrak to Hoboken and pay $25 for a cab music. Like that's what Shook World is to me. I love this album. I'm mad. Once again, like annoyed, like more people didn't cover it. I know y'all did, and your episode with him was great. Like I'm so impressed with this. And just like, like once again, we're talking about lineage before, just, like the PTP lineage and everything Gang's been doing. Like I love this fucking album, man. And like I imagine this is gonna be one that people are gonna hear about through word of mouth, and this is one that's gonna stand the test of time. Like I'd imagine, like I don't know if y'all are big into Futurama, but I always I always think about the episode where they find Fry's dog in the petrified pizza parlor, and like they're like excavating, like they find like the pizza pail, they find the pizza paddle and like the old arcade machine, and like if they were to find something else, it'd be a copy of Shook World by King Vision Ultra. Like it's got that quality to it, like one of those things you find and it's like, how have I never heard of this before? Like this doesn't sound like any time. It sounds like time wasn't even a concept when they made this. Like it could just appear at any moment, like from the stars type shit. Like I love this album.
That's so funny that you're saying that. Like we talked about maps being like about travel. I think Shook World has like a travel element to it too. I said this to Gang when he was on the show. I said I feel like you're like Doctor Who, and you're like taking this on these fucking journeys, and like all these people are like guides, if you will, on this journey, like Nakama and Desday and Lucid, like leading us to different. They're like parts of they're like the guides of different stops that we make. Like, so there's like definitely like this futuristic feel to it almost, but definitely traveling, like specifically in New York. I think there's like past, present, and future elements, especially like this conversation around gentrification and where things could lead. There's definitely like it has that like time travel element in it for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I'm with the like timelessness aspect of it, but it also somehow like captures a very specific time. Yeah, they're talking about like gentrification and appropriation, which is a neat trick, to be able to do both those things at the same time.
Yeah.
This is just such like a challenging and abrasive, but like really, like cool sounding record. That's just like, like once again, like I've been talking about stuff that's like, I'm excited because it sounds warm and it's wintertime. Like this is like Black Ice, the album. Like this is this is some of like the most cold, aggressive music that was made this year. And I'm excited for it to hit me in the chest the way that like Philadelphia Freeway and like the Infamous do when I go back and listen to those during the wintertime. It's also made me really interested to go check more Algier stuff. I've heard their stuff, but I'm not like an expert in any way. But like this was like, like once again, just the whole idea of like taking one specific artist's music and turning that into something new is really ill to me. And I'm surprised more people, especially since Premiere did it with Prime, I'm like surprised more people haven't like tried to do that, at least in this way. And this turned out to be really fucking cool. So
really fucking cool. Yeah,
man.
I feel like I don't know if you remember this, but I feel like Steel Tip Dove was telling us about a project he did that he took somebody else's stems. But I guess what feels unique about this is like these albums were released simultaneously, like at the same time. It's not like he's taking stems from some old project or something that people had heard before. These things were coming out together. I've never heard of that before. Super unique to me.
Yeah, me either. Like I completely forgot about that. Yeah, like that's like that's even more unprecedented. Like that's even more impressive. Like these two things get to exist together and they get to inform each other in real time, as opposed to it, being like this record's 10, 15, 20 years old, which is great. Like I think not all of the Prime albums hold up very well. Not all of it, but like the stuff that holds for a different reason than Shook World would hold. I would think, and it's just cool to see. Yeah, like it's cool that these two artifacts kind of like coexist at the same time type shit.
Yeah. It's also very, very hip hop. Like Gang took pieces of this other project and formed something completely different. Like it just it's hip hop.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. I interviewed Nyante at the live thing I was telling y'all about, and when we closed out, he told me like, like the idea was like us talking about like the bridging of like hip hop and electronic, and he's like, we make electronic music, and I told him like that's the most hip hop shit you could say, like because like this is all just about like taking the old and turning it into something new. Yeah. And regardless of how it sounds, like that's the most hip hop shit you could do.
Yeah.
Like as a musician, is just like take this stuff and build it in your image. You know, and like that's very much. I think Shook World embodies that. To a T. Like it makes me want to eat a handful of gravel. Like that's fire. Like I don't know what else to say. Like like.
Also, like, and then I'll be quiet. But just this idea that they're talking about gentrification and Gang sort of building this thing that's rebelling against that, and taking like the true essence of New York. And I don't know, like there's just a lot of symbolism in that for me.
Yeah, I agree. Like, like it kind of works in the same way that like Wiki's Half God did, because like that's an album that's like very much about like, like Wiki's always been like a true New York type of dude, but like Half God in particular is just so like about outsiders and gentrification and like this is what New York should be. I miss this. I want to try to make this a little better, and I think that makes this a nice, or rather, I think Shook World and Half God are kind of in conversation with each other. When I was re-listening last night, that's the thing I was thinking about, just like how these. Like and like how we don't have more of those, like more projects like from New Yorkers that directly speak to that, because it's something we all talk like maybe it feels too obvious to most people, but like it's not something that's talked about on record very often, especially not in the way it is on Shook World. It feels so urgent. Like it's so. I always hate the descriptor "in your face" because that sounds like like that sounds like corporate speak to me. It's like it's just very like slogany, but like it really is like that, like grab you by your cheeks, grab you by your like down goose sweater, shake you until you're conscious type shit.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Sky Zoo's album, All the Brilliant Things, really tackled this, but from a very different angle. He does a lot of looking back, like there's a lot of familiar sounds, which I love. He used those old familiar things, I think. As a framework for talking about like the need for preservation. Whereas, Shook World is just like, get the fuck out.
Basically, yeah.
And like Gang, like let these people tell them themselves. Like it wasn't this like, get the fuck out. Like well, there's songs on there basically that say leave, please leave. But it was just the people that are moving in, disrespecting the city that they love, that are telling on themselves. Like he just sort of like letting them lead that narrative and saying, and like letting them reveal themselves. Like it's not this whole like get out of here, you know what I mean? Like it's they're doing it to themselves. Like they're telling their own. He's letting the gentrifiers tell their own story.
That's funny. I didn't even think about that. It's like a there's a song on YG's second album, the first song, "Don't Come to LA." Like that's the whole idea. And like but like it's somehow even more blunt than a song like "Don't Come to LA." Like like it's there in the title, it's there in the hook, but like Shook World is just like it takes that feeling and just like puts it into music.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's it's really just like this is like go back to Lincoln, Nebraska music.
Basically, and again, it's the people that are telling on themselves. Like the way that he uses their vocals and like the different clips, I'm like, this is fucking genius. Genius.
Hardcore, man. Yeah. I'm excited to re-listen to it after we just talked about it because I haven't revisited it in a minute. So I'm excited to go back.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
Tomb gon' say rate him. Etchings in his name to make amends before the unfortunate dissolution of links like Ray the Clan. Pithy diatribes and tinkering with alchemy to in-betweens. I can't imagine a death mask on me that wouldn't fetch a ransom. Grave diggers rage and ran through inconsequential tantrums. While my MO caused gray matter, memos deemed more relevant as denunciations of reverence. The praise chatter stay missing context like, hey, batter. 10 toes on loaded bases in my separatist bag. Dapping deplorables and chain snatches. Like fuck all that elegant rap. Sold fertile spaces, but never grew nothing Mesopotamian adjacent. I was worried about raising seeds around the bloodthirsty Albanians who kept mob ties with the real estate appraisers. Make me shake my head. Caught strangers in the woods outside and had to make my stand. Blue notes punctuating exile. The jazz hands was fully functional, doing 3-hour trips, performing for crackers that don't fully fuck with you.
Well, y'all, we did it. We did it. We talked about our favorites from 2023. I don't want to keep us on here too much longer, but if we were doing 5 albums and you had to name 2 more, rapid fire, which 2 albums would you pick?
That's too hard. Rapid fire.
I already got them in my mind.
I can edit it down so it'll sound like rapid fire.
You go first, E. I got one, but I got to think of the other.
My 2 others would be Decay by Fatboy Sharif and Still Tip Dub, and Leather Boulevard by B Kool-Aid. Love those 2 albums. And if we picked 5, those would have definitely made the cut.
So solid. So solid.
I'm going to say Maxo, Even God Has a Sense of Humor. And I'm going to say Sketch 185 and Jeff Markey. He left nothing for the swim back. Incredible.
God. Yeah, like once again, something that I feel like was pretty slept on. And I'm that's going to be one people are sorry about when they go back in a couple years. For me, I think my other 2 would have been, I mentioned it before, Lungs and Feeks, Another Planet 4. Yeah. Incredible. Just like bar none, some of the best rapping of the year. And just because I just thought of it, Defiant presents Jiggy and Jersey, which is a Jersey club rap compilation featuring Sha EK, Bandman Real, and McVert. Okay. McVert's a producer, and the other 2 guys are Jersey club rappers. Bandman Real is one of my he was my favorite. He was one of my favorite rappers of last year. He had a really good year this year too. It's just like Jersey Philly club drill rap.
Yeah.
You know, like they got a song with A$AP Ferg and Sexy Red on it. Nuts. One of my favorite songs of the year called Face Down. It's great. It's once again like that's like fight music for me. Anyway, yeah, those 2. Great. Good shit.
Love it. Well, that was quicker than I thought it would be. Love it. Dylan, thanks for joining us. This was a lovely conversation. Thank you for the albums that you picked. All 3 of them were albums that I really didn't listen to this year. And so I'm just really appreciative of that, being able to have the opportunity to do just that. So thanks for coming through.
Thank y'all for the platform, man. Like I said, like big fan of what y'all do and just like having people come on and like talk about their favorite shit and seeing them light up in a different way. I always take note of people who think to approach an interview in that way. So, that's and like thank y'all for reminding me about Stick Figure and The Expert and just like not reintroducing, but just like reminding me to go back to Shook World, because I didn't spend enough time. I spent a lot of time with it, didn't spend enough time with it. So, you know, like that, yeah, just like thank y'all for your perspective, and yeah, just like and then on top of that, any chance to talk about Backwoods, I'm in, you know.
Yeah, man, thank you. Folks, check out Real Notes if you haven't already. Dylan, is there anything else that you want people to know that they should, you know, maybe something they should tap into that you're doing?
So 2 things. One, I also work over at Pitchfork. We do fun things over there. Like I mentioned before, I wrote a pretty chunky piece about the history of Backwoods, called How Billy Woods' Backwoods Studios became the best underground label in New York, or something like that. I forget the title, but go check that out. I'm really proud of that. That's my favorite thing I wrote this year. And be on the lookout for more live Real Notes events. I'm really gonna try to crank those out at a consistent clip between live movie nights and just live recorded episodes. Like it's all in the planning phases, but yeah. So I think either that or come find me on Switch and let's play Mario Kart.
All right.
That's all I got.
Love it.
All right, folks. Those have been the favorites from 2023. Thanks for listening. Peace.
Hey, look. Takes 2 to tango, but I don't think you trained enough to peel this mango. Your teeth don't hang low. I find a way to get fed with my mouth closed. Still hype to hang though. I'm oriented around details, picking up when we riding off the rails. Train cars sliding, dirty ass wind under my sails, avoiding paper trails. Keep the flyer, I'm not inclined to be a buyer, not an easy sale. Unmoved, but still let the flow run where it's due. It's a breeze to let it be. Dug my own dirt, dubbing being left behind. I compromise with staying overly grounded. Airheads seek asylum in the sky, so why should I fight my gravitational pull if pigs could fly too? Stinks when it's so fake, it's real, like a burning cig in the styrofoam. And you saw me in the sky with who? Shit, I never knew, that's news. Fulfill me, I keep it me, you keep it you. I keep it me, you keep it you. I keep it me, you keep it you. I keep it me, you keep it you.